Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks. It's episode 36. Halloween just happened. I'm John. I'm joined by Andrea again. How are you?
Good. Happy Halloween still. I'm hanging on. It's
Yeah,
Halloween
right?
weekend. if
Yep.
if I resist it long enough, it's not November.
Doesn't it seem weird for me anyways? I always try to do that, hold on a while, but it
hmm
just seems like a complete shift. Like it's just over, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like Christmas, I think you can make last longer, it seems,
hmm
because New Year's is coming yet or something.
Right. Right.
But
Well, and I feel like there's so much more leniency for leaving up like Christmas decorations and like people not taking down their trees right away. So you can sort of
mhm.
stretch that holiday into January, maybe February. But yeah, like everything else, it's like you get like the day and then you have to like take it all down. It's such a
Yeah,
bummer.
that's why we try to start early and we try
Yeah,
to get decorated so it's up for plenty of time there.
for
But yeah.
sure. Yeah, for me, the whole month of October is fair game for
hmm
celebrating Halloween. So even though you're supposed to kind of end it on Halloween, at least I've got like pre-celebration.
Yep. Well, I did plenty of celebrating yesterday, so I'm just drinking soda today. Some pop.
That's all right. I've also got some like sparkly fizzy water,
hmm
orange colors on my can, so I'm still there. I'm still Halloweeny.
Nice. Yeah, this is called Bubble Up. It's
Bubble
pop,
up.
and yeah,
Where's that from?
it's odd looking. I got it from uh, Hy-Vee.
Oh, okay.
At a kind of different section of different sodas.
Sure.
It's from, I guess, the Dad's Root Beer Company.
I've not heard of that. Any good? I mean, what is it? Is it like a
Yeah, it's
7
pretty
Up
good.
kind of
Yeah, it is. Yep.
analog? Okay, sure.
hmm Yep.
Makes sense. Up in the name.
Yep.
So,
Um. So yeah, not adhering to neither National Champagne Day, Champagne Day, or International Stout Day.
no, and I
But
love how they're two wildly different drinks.
yeah.
Like you think of one like light bubbly, which we're both kind of doing with our soda and our sparkly
hmm
water. But then yeah, like a total opposite of the drink spectrum, just like a heavy stout. So I just think
Yep.
it's funny. So
Well,
I
how?
promised you before we move on, I promised you Halloween trivia.
Oh
So
man.
from last week's
Okay.
episode. So even though I don't have drink trivia, I have Halloween trivia that is all to do with timelines. So
Okay.
because you quizzed me on my history last time. So I have for you, when is Halloween thought to have been originated? And now think of
When?
not like trick or treating, like modern day Halloween, like kids dressing up and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
like pagan
hmm
celebration.
Right. I feel like I've heard this at some point. Um,
I'll give you a little hint. It's far older than you would think.
okay. Um, hmm. Okay. I'm gonna say, wow. Like, we're in BC, right?
Yes, yes, I will definitely
Okay.
give you
Yeah.
that it's BC.
Yeah. I'll say like 1200 BC.
Not bad, not bad. Older than that.
Oh, okay.
Do you want one more
Um,
guess?
all right. Uh, 1450 BC.
Ooh, older than that. It's 4000 BC.
Oh my God.
Right?
Okay.
I was
Okay.
absolutely shocked. So, yeah,
Man. See,
4000 BC.
I've listened to a podcast. I know I have on like the
hmm
history of Halloween. So I'm sure they talked about like, wearing different things on your head and stuff,
Yeah.
setting out things to ward away spirits and whatever. But
Yeah, it's definitely
yeah.
gone through like several iterations of a holiday, and
hmm
different traditions. So, I mean, I don't know how much, we might even recognize from celebrating Halloween in 4000 BC, but that's like the earliest like,
And it'd
kind of
be
traditional celebration that they can find.
like Germanic kind of
Celtic, yeah.
air. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah.
Cool.
So
It's a
that's
good
how
one.
old Halloween is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is. Yeah. I just
Crazy.
thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, we try to do a little like our Christmas becomes more of a traditional Christmas in a lot of ways too. Like
Mhm.
it's fun looking at the old traditions that where a lot of things came from,
Yeah.
winter solstice things.
Yeah.
Like instead of boughs of holly, you can string intestines of animals on your tree. That's where that came from. So
Quite a
we
change.
haven't done that. We have not done that. But I
But you
mean,
know that you could. It's an
yeah.
option.
Mhm.
It's like bringing a little bit of the Halloween spirit into Christmas, which we'll
I
kind of
know.
talk about later in the show. So, how
Yeah.
fitting.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, in news, before we get to some scary things,
Hmm.
unfortunately, Halloween got kicked off with some sad news.
Yeah.
Sir Sean Connery has
Hmm.
died.
He has 90 years old. I mean, I kind of forgot how old he was. We hadn't seen him in a while, and so I just sort of had
Hmm.
this picture in my mind from like maybe the last time I'd really seen him out about in Hollywood, kind of late 70s, early 80s, and I just hadn't remembered that he was that old. So it
Yeah.
just took me a little bit by surprise. But yeah,
No,
very sad.
I kind of liked that, he sort of retired and then this
Hmm.
last time and really actually did retire. He kind
Yeah.
of, whatever he did, he just went away and did his own thing. The last I remember seeing him, he was doing like, he was modeling for Gucci or some
Oh,
handbag he had, like
sure.
something
Okay.
yeah, but that was probably a decade ago already.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I was looking into it a little bit, and he really did, like you said, he decided he was going to retire from the entertainment world, and did. And then he kind of spent the last decade working for Scottish independence from the UK.
Mhm.
Like that was his idea, like, or not his idea, obviously, but his idea for Scotland that he really was passionate about was becoming an independent nation. So that's kind of what he
Sure.
he had been doing, which I think is cool.
Yeah, never heard that.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of like behind the scenes, not trying to bring too much of his star power, kind of be too much
Right.
of a celebrity about it. So I think that was pretty cool.
Money to the people he wants and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
but very, very, very sad. We both kind of had the same reaction, kind of pulled us to go back and like think about watching some of his early work. Obviously, the original
Hmm.
James Bond, just so iconic.
Yep. Yeah, it would be nice if the new Bond film would come out, and that would be a doubly good
Right.
excuse to watch some more. Uh, I also really liked him as Indiana Jones's father. He was so
Oh
good,
yeah. Yeah, I
so
forgot
good,
about that.
so
Yeah.
different.
It's not my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but I love him in it.
Yep.
He's
Hmm.
so good. It fits so well.
Yep. Well, pour one out for Sir Sean Connery. Watch a few
Mhm.
Bond movies.
That's
So,
right.
in way happier news, like um, miles and miles happier news, Mandalorian season 2 has begun on Disney Plus.
That's right. That's right.
Woo!
Have you begun
So
watching yet, or are you waiting for me?
I I have seen there's only one episode out right now. I'm assuming it's gonna be one a week,
Mhm.
and so yes, I did watch this. Um, I was worried already about spoilers. I
Okay.
saw one screen just going through YouTube. Saw one screen that um, was verging on spoilery to me when I don't want to know anything. So,
Sure. Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, that's always tough. I mean, it becomes so unavoidable. everybody's got something everywhere, and it's just like even if you don't mean to
Yep.
see it, you see something, you're like, no. So,
Yep.
what do you think? Off to a strong start?
Yep.
Good.
Promising first start. Yeah.
Good.
It's hard to because my hopes are so high. So we'll see. That was good. Few video game stories. Cyberpunk 2077, I guess it's not news at this point, really, but it's been delayed till December.
Right.
So they're in trouble getting it working on the current gen consoles well, I guess, or good enough. So that's delayed. Nintendo did a little like short Nintendo Direct, and of
Yeah.
note in that was the Control, the game, Ultimate Edition, but the cloud version, because that's a high demand game that's been well received. Well, they're letting it like you can buy it to stream it to your Switch now.
Oh, nice.
And kind of came out of nowhere. And it really sort of opens up again. It's that start of the doesn't matter what device you're going to have, you're going to be able to play what you want, where you want, as long as you have a good internet connection. And so yeah, kind
Nice.
of cool. Maybe they won't be left out of the cloud streaming, future.
Right,
Nintendo.
putting their toe in there. See how it goes.
Yep. And then a story I figured you and Chris would be excited about.
Yes.
As we like start to transition back to television and movies and stuff. Assassin's Creed, they are making a live action series for Netflix.
I am cautiously excited. Having seen the Assassin's Creed movie, I am cautiously excited. Because that really just didn't go super well. Like, I mean, despite having some great people, I mean, I love Michael Fassbender, and I mean, I can't say enough about his talent, but the movie just, it didn't represent Assassin's Creed very well. So, hopefully by taking their time and making it a series, they can really do something interesting with it.
Yep.
And I do have faith in Netflix as a production company. I don't know exactly who's doing what, but they've put out some great content, so I'm not worried about that at all.
I feel like there's the beginnings of a trend where they're taking a little more seriously video game adaptations. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you can do it with comic books. There's no reason you can't do it with video games.
Absolutely.
We're getting a more serious look at what seems like Uncharted, a Last of Us series for I think HBO.
Yep.
And then to me, this kind of got kicked off maybe by the guy making a big stink about Castlevania and doing Castlevania animated, but in his way. So I don't know. There's a positive trend, I would say.
I agree. Makes me happy. I mean, like I said, I'm still a little nervous about, Assassin's Creed and the way it translates to live action. But I think it makes more sense to do as live action. Whereas like Castlevania absolutely makes more sense to do as an animated series. So I can appreciate those in their respective mediums, but it doesn't mean I'm not worried. But
right. Yep.
Hopeful.
Hopefully the Monster Hunter movie with Mila Jovovich is going to be the final. It'll be the nail in the coffin for the terrible, non-faithful video game adaptation.
Right.
So, I mean, I haven't seen it. Maybe it's not terrible, but I'm just going to go on a limb here and say it will be.
Yeah. It's hard knowing so much about like Resident Evil. Yeah. It's hard to watch that and then like play the video game and be like, what are these? How are these together? How dare you call this Resident Evil?
All right. Well, speaking of Resident Evil and Halloween-y things, we spent some time watching some horror movies this week.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, Chris and I watched a horror movie a day this week.
Wow. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. We decided to kind of sit down and just like celebrate Halloween the whole week and just kind of watch something scary or scary adjacent every day. And by scary adjacent, I mean I finally made Chris sit down and watch the original Addams Family movie or
Mm.
the 90s movie because he'd never seen it, and I just think that's a absolute travesty.
With is it Christina Ricci? Isn't that
Yeah,
yeah.
Angelica Houston, yeah, Christopher Lloyd.
That's
Yeah,
good. What do you think of it?
he loved it. He
Oh, good.
really, so he had only seen like random clips of things and like,
Mm.
gotten it out of context. You kind of know what the Addams Family is. So he had sort of
Mm.
got it, but he was like really annoyed that I rewatch it every Halloween and just like couldn't understand why I was so fascinated. So I was like, okay,
Mm.
so you're sitting down and you're watching this. So then he was so excited about it, he actually voluntarily sat down and watched Addams Family Values, which is not as
Okay.
good, I think, because they get a little too campy, but still like a solid kind of B, maybe C
Mm.
plus kind of movie. So that was fun.
Yep.
So I got to introduce him to
Cool.
that.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we watched Carrie, the original, which I hadn't seen.
Okay.
We watched, oh God, another like kind of terrible movie, Van Helsing. Terrible, awesome
Um.
movie.
hmm I
um,
like the portrayal of Dracula in there, kind
I
of.
do
I always
too.
love this sequence where Helsing like comes in there and then he's just like shouting and it echoes in there and stuff. He's got a good like dramatic flourish to him and stuff, I like
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
Richard Roxburgh is the actor who plays Dracula, and he is clearly like doing the best work in this movie. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mm.
not maybe his best work, but doing the best work out of
He's
everybody
not
there.
phoning it in,
Yes,
he's like, yeah, it's going
he's
for
there
it.
110%. And Pete Davidson commented on Chris's, status when he had updated that he was watching it and, how it was a terrible movie. And he was saying, for the time, the special effects on the werewolves were pretty good. And I did have to
Mm.
agree, like watching the transformations and, the kind of the way that they did that actually really wasn't bad. So,
Sure.
the movie has bright spots, but just on the whole, of course, it's pretty cringe worthy. Unfortunately, some of the dialogue and the plot holes that kind of just get rammed together to make a story, but you know
Well,
it was
yeah.
kind of fun to
They're always
rewatch.
trying to hit that mummy magic again.
Yeah.
That summer
Mhm.
blockbuster kind of
Yep.
monster flick action adventure thing of the
Mhm.
90s or whatever, and it's a delicate balance and that's why
Really
it's
is.
um yeah, they never can get it right again. So,
Yeah. One kind of movie that we did watch before I kind of get into, you know, our other topics for the day, that I thought married comedy and horror really well. We watched Happy Death Day, which I'd never seen before. And
uh,
I thought it was
maybe
really
not.
good. It's
Okay.
kind of basic, quick summary. Um, a sorority girl wakes up on her birthday, kind of goes through her day, and then ends the day by getting killed, and then re-wakes up and starts her whole birthday over again. And it keeps
Mm,
happening and keeps happening
mm,
until she figures out who kills
sounds
her.
familiar.
Yeah, I mean, they did actually make a sequel to it because it was so successful. Um, so I know they're both recent. The first one was made in 2017, and the sequel was made in 2019. So I'm sure you've
Oh, okay.
seen a trailer somewhere.
Yeah.
Haven't watched the sequel yet, but yeah, the first one was actually really good. Like it just kind of
Nice.
surprised me with how it blended the humor and the horror very well. So would recommend.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And isn't doesn't feel like Groundhog's Day too much.
No, it actually makes a joke about Groundhog's Day. So
Nice.
it works. It's very like
Yeah.
self-aware and funny. So I have no idea how the sequel goes and if it's, the gimmick is used up by then, but yeah, the
Hmm.
first one's very good.
So, did you get to watching The Exorcist? Did you manage to?
No, that's on our docket tonight.
Okay,
So,
nice,
yes, cuz
cool.
yesterday was um together we watched Black Christmas,
Okay, so
which
you
we're going to
watched
talk
now.
about.
So, did you watch yesterday? the newer one though, right?
Yes, yesterday was the newer one. I'd watched the first 1974 Black Christmas on my own earlier in the week.
Okay. So, okay. And then, so we both managed to watch the 74 Black Christmas
Yes. Mm-hmm.
original. And then Hereditary.
Yeah,
Both
yeah. Tell me
went
about
through.
that.
Yeah, Hereditary. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was, so we were talking about last week the list of scariest.
That's right.
And it was what, number 4, I think.
Yeah, it was up there,
Um,
and we were both like, we'd never really heard of this, so what?
I don't think it should have been that high, but I
Okay,
did like it. I
okay.
mean,
Do you think it's like still in a top 10 or is it like top 15? Even lower
I
than
mean,
that?
I'm okay with it being on that list, I
Okay.
guess. Somewhere in that list,
Well,
you
the
know.
list goes up to like 35,
I
so
know. Yeah.
it's a
It's
big
it's
gap between number 4 and number
mhm.
35.
It's really hard to rank that stuff, I think, because I mean, obviously like this was going up based on pulses, but
Right.
it's hard because it depends on the mood you're in. Depends on the mood you're in,
Sure.
the setting, if you're watching it by yourself or with others, if you're in a
Mhm.
theater or at home. Like
Mhm.
it can really vary whether a movie is scary depending on your current mindset. In
Very true.
some movies, you're sitting down and you're ready and you're in the dark and it has you like on the edge of your seat sort of thing. And
Mhm.
sometimes you're more relaxed and you're just not that sucked in that
Right.
every little thing is going to be like, whoa.
Right.
I did appreciate that. I don't think there were any jump scares really. I
Oh,
mean, there
okay.
was like one, there a bird hit a window,
Uh-huh.
but really it was minimal. Like the movie really was about a slow kind of build,
Mhm.
creepy sort of thing.
Okay.
Um, which I guess to me was sort of um the downside to it. Like I like the slow build, but it was a slow build and then it just became super depressing, really
Oh,
sad before it
okay.
got like scary and quite good.
Sure.
So,
So kind
but
of
it
like
was
a draggy
original.
middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was original. I think it was well done. It was well acted. So the cast was good.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, original. So it's not just retreading on everything that's been done before.
Yeah,
So
I mean that does mean a lot as we kind of talked about this week, the popularity of remakes for horror movies 'cause it does feel like so many horror movies are remakes, like you
mhm,
just see a lot of the same stuff coming out even and it's hard because so many of the original movies have so many sequels and then you feel like we had just had
yep,
like Freddy and Jason number 9 and now we're like starting over with, Jason's Coming Back
yep,
or Nightmare on Elm Street,
right,
which I watched. So yeah, so originality I think does get to count for a lot when you make a horror movie.
yep. I think the sad, depressing stuff really lend itself to making you take the film seriously.
Sure.
And so that lets you potentially, when crazy stuff happens, you're taking that seriously too, because it was really grounded
Mhm.
um, earlier on in the film.
Sure. Sure.
So yeah, remakes. So
Yeah.
you watched you said the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes, made in 2010. I would not recommend anybody watch it.
Oh, it doesn't
It
make your list of favorites, the
It does
remakes.
not. No.
Oh,
I mean, the it's such like a faithful remake, It's just it
mhm,
hits kind of all the same plot points as the original does. Um but has none of the effect of the original. It's all been done before. The special
mhm,
effects try to go too far in making it bloodier and there's more jump scare, but it's too much. It doesn't have that sort of like elegant simplicity and
yep,
terror that the first one holds. Um I would say the very few bright spots of the movie are the lead Rooney Mara is the main girl in the movie, and she does a great job. I mean, she's Rooney Mara. She's a great
Sure.
actress.
Yeah.
And even though she's in this like very terrible remake, she still gives it her all. So she's fun to watch in that. And then I also think that they did a cool thing in switching Freddy's story around a little bit um, to be faithful to Wes Craven's like original idea
Mm,
that Freddy was going to be a child molester. And then they decided like, oh, that's not really great. We don't really want to, get into that.
right.
So they changed him to a child murderer in the first one. Because I think the studio was just worried about how that was going to play out with audiences. And then in this one,
Yep.
they just decided like, no, we're gonna go for it. And I really don't think it was like that. I mean, it's awful. It's I'm trying not to make light of a topic, but I
Right.
just don't think the
Depends on how
difference.
it's done.
Right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it was introduced in a very scary, sad way where you understand why these parents just,
Hmm.
freaked out and of course like end up originally murdering Freddie. Um, so that all made sense to me, and I thought that that was tastefully done and well handled and well done to go back to the original idea. But yeah, really a lot of other things just didn't work out. Like I said, it was very special effects heavy. um the
Mm.
CGI that they used to do like Freddy's kind of burn marked face I thought was pretty crappy job. um
2010, it's probably it's that era where it
yeah.
wasn't good enough to really be using all the time, you know?
Right, right. And I get why they did it, of course, to make it look, more like the actor's face, but had just been burned. And
Hmm.
apparently they had studied like burn victims and tried to like mimic what would happen, but I just don't think the technology was there yet. So
Right.
valiant effort, but yeah, overall just not great. Skippable for sure.
Well, we were looking at this list of like 25 best horror movie remakes,
Yeah.
and it does seem like there are quite a few, you know? So
Yeah.
often I kind of what do you think? Like is it worth making remakes all the time to things? Does it pay
Uh
off?
Sometimes I feel
Hmm.
like I could live my entire life or at least the next 50 years of my life and not go through another Freddy or Jason remake because
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
so saturated, it's so inundated. Like I just can't handle some more of that. But I mean, some of my favorite horror movies like on this list are remakes. Like I love the remake of It. I don't know, at least part 1. I don't know a lot of people who don't love that remake. I think it was
Yeah.
absolutely well done
Hmm.
and a very smart move to do. I
Yep.
also one of my favorite remakes, Fright Night, from 2011 with Anton Yelchin and Colin Farrell. Love that movie. A great idea to remake that movie, but yeah, like I said, I just think it's smarter to remake something that hasn't been done to death. And
Yeah.
if we could avoid Freddy and Jason for a while, that would be super.
Well, and avoiding remaking things that are really good already,
Yeah.
but it seems like on this list a lot of things were good and well
Hmm.
received and were remade, and then the remake becomes the classic.
Yeah.
So,
It's very funny.
um, yeah, I don't know. Like you brought up which one do you say there? The Fright Night,
Yeah.
and talking about
Hmm.
how that was, a near perfect suburban vampire film,
Hmm.
and Wallace, a new one is also really good. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I
So you
suppose if
can't
you,
always poo-poo it, I guess.
yeah, I mean, if you have strong original material, I mean, in the right
Hmm.
hands, it can still be strong. But I mean, obviously, we know that, that's not always the case.
Hmm.
As I was just talking about with I think Nightmare on Elm Street is a great original movie and then just absolutely
Yep.
butchered in the 2010 remake.
It still is odd when someone wants to bother remaking something that's so good. So even if it often
Yeah.
comes out better or becomes a classic, it's odd that that's what gets the green light. And it
Mhm.
worries me for things like they always talk about a Harry Potter remake or something like
Oh
that, or
god, I
Lord of the
know.
Rings. It's like they want to update it for the times, you know? And to
But
me,
why?
it just, yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like this story really deserves an update to be told now, you know? And it's like make
Hmm.
it more relevant today. It's like if a movie's great, like that's part of the fun, as we'll get to
Hmm.
later with Black Christmas,
Yeah.
that it's in the 70s and you're dealing with the technology of the time.
Yes, we
That
both loved
is,
that.
yeah, that's so much fun. And I didn't get to see any of the newer ones, so you're gonna have to tell me if I need to get there or to contrast here.
Sure.
But maybe we want to move into that then.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to kind of siege into Black Christmas, we when we were kind of planning out watching this, we both ended up learning that this is a triple remake, where we've got
Yeah.
the 1974 version, the original Black Christmas. There's a 2006 version. There's another movie made in the 2000s called Black Christmas that has nothing to do with this concept, which I find very strange. And then there's the remake that happened just this last year, in 2019. So it's a triple remake, much like the number one remake, from that list we were talking about, The Thing.
Hmm.
Um, it's like from the 1950s. I think it's like 1953 is the original one, and then it's 1982 is the number one remake, and then there's also a 2011 remake. So I think this
So
like triple remake idea is really interesting, because what makes a movie then like worthy of the triple? Because I don't know
yeah,
that Black Christmas is.
I mean,
Even though I liked the
is it just name
1974 one.
recognition?
I don't
It's
know.
just, I mean, I get it when I guess when it's something that's so iconic, and you know, when you talk about superheroes now, it's like, okay, well,
Yeah. Hmm.
Superman will never go away because everyone knows Superman. Does
Right.
everyone know Black Christmas? Is that
Right.
going to bring everyone into the theater because, hey, name recognition, there's going to be a few, you know, there's a cult following to Black Christmas or whatever, and people are going to, you know, I don't know. It just,
It didn't seem
um,
like it.
yeah, and I was looking up Black Christmas reviews very well. A lot of
Yes.
people love it. They
Yes.
say this is the like Halloween slasher that should be remembered versus like Halloween or something like that.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah.
I didn't think it was that big, but it must have been. I would have thought like I get The Thing being remade 3 times. And it's far enough out, like 50s, 80s, 2011, like that feels far enough apart where you could still draw on name recognition, like it's one of the classic like monsters of old Hollywood that's,
Mhm.
being new. But yeah, I hadn't realized that Black Christmas was like such a big draw. And I really liked the 1970s movie. I mean, I
Mhm.
really thought they did a great job, and it definitely earned a place, I think, among great movies of Halloween. But yeah, I just
Yep.
hadn't realized that so many people loved it so much.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just so always so sad the seemingly out of original ideas, you know,
Yes.
kind of thing. But I don't know. You know, Invisible Man
Right?
was, you
Just
know, a recent
recently.
remake now.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's been done a couple times. And this latest one was good, you
Yep.
know? So, I mean, I don't know. But
Yeah, it's
yeah,
hard to
I
predict,
just,
I think, what's going to
yeah.
make the remake good, even if it's good original material. But yeah, there is a sense of both enjoying a movie and then also wishing that Hollywood could just write
Mhm.
an original good horror movie
Yep.
too.
Well, like you're talking, so, you know, you kind of thought of this idea because of the Exorcist is being remade. And
Yes.
there
Yes.
is, you know, there is
Uproar.
subtlety here because a lot of people love The Exorcist.
Yes.
Um, but if you watch it now as someone that has not seen it, I'm not spoiling anything here. Just
Hmm.
it's like you can see the strings, you know,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
it is outdated in a
Hmm.
number of ways.
Hmm.
And I can understand the urge to want to um, to modernize that.
Yeah.
But
I
there's a
I
charm too to
right.
uh,
I don't disagree with their choice to remake it. I disagree, and what I think has fans in such an uproar. I disagree with the notion that the studio said they promised they would never remake it. They're like
mm.
on record in an interview saying we will never remake The Exorcist. Why would you do that? I don't
No,
know.
that's foolish. Yep.
So now, of course, people are just absolutely livid that they've
Yeah.
broken their promise in remaking The Exorcist. And I think perhaps it does have some overblown status as like such a cult classic and an icon of horror movies. It's not like, we should consider this movie untouchable, because as we've learned, no movie really is. But
Right.
I mean, if you're going to go on record and promise not to do it, then just don't do it. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know how that could be any clearer. You're obviously going to piss off fans, and that's exactly what they're doing. So yeah, so that's kind of why I thought of like talking about remakes this week, because
Yeah.
people are just absolutely livid. And I
Well,
don't know that this I don't know if this movie's going to do well, if there's going to be enough fans that are like boycott the movie, or if
mhm.
because it causes such a controversy, people are going to flock to see what they
Yeah.
did to it. Don't know. It's
Yep.
a gamble.
Well, the only thing they can do, I'd say, to is like put their money where their mouth is now. Like,
Right. Yeah. Now it
you
has to
know,
be good.
yeah, it's got to be really good.
Pressure's on.
And there's been so many exorcism scenes since The
Hmm.
Exorcist now.
Right.
It's been done a lot.
Right.
So are you going to bring something new to it? Are you just going to like try to stay really true?
Hmm.
And that's what's going to, you hopefully win people over.
Right.
But I mean, there's been some crazy exorcism scenes now.
Hmm.
It's not like when this first came out and it was something that was shocking and new to audiences. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay, well, Black Christmas, the
Yeah.
much remade Black Christmas 1974 version, I realized partway through. So I went into my Apple TV app,
Yep.
Black Christmas, which tells me where I can watch it.
Yep.
I can watch it through Pluto TV,
Okay.
uh, which is free. It's ad supported, so there's ads in the middle or whatever. But
Yep.
that meant I was watching the television cut, which is not a thing you want to do on a slasher film. So
Absolutely.
I hopefully didn't miss anything too important, but I definitely didn't see any of the gore. They
Yeah.
like put a big blur dot over like
Oh,
all the
really?
things. Yeah.
Really? Okay. I mean,
The when the caretaker was like flipped off the one guy, even like blurred
oh,
out the
really?
finger.
Oh my God,
Yep.
that's so funny. Oh my
So
gosh. Yeah, so I watched it on Tubi, like
oh,
TUBI.
okay. Uh-huh.
Um, and it had like everything going on. I mean, it did have ads, of course, in between everything. But yeah, no, I had the full, like, there's swearing, there's fingers, there's, hooks in people's heads. Spoiler alert.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that is
Oh, yeah.
unfortunate for you. I'm
Spoilers, I guess.
sorry.
Yeah. Yep. And that was interesting. They did show the hook in um
Oh,
the
in
one
the
lady's face.
the
Yeah, that
dorm
wasn't
mother,
bad enough. But I was looking some
but the
stuff up and
finger.
someone, yeah, that nope, that's not okay.
Heaven forbid.
And then it sounded like someone's eyeball was in someone's hand at
Yes.
one point, like so I didn't see that. I
Okay.
just but
Interesting. Interesting. Oh, that must have
well,
changed your movie going experience just a tad.
yep. Yep, just a bit. Um Andrea, your picture froze.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
just
guys.
frozen with fright.
Ah.
Um,
Um. Okay.
Probably have to
Let me.
just maybe Alan, if you want to throw up technical difficulties or something, and hang up and just come back.
Sure, that sounds good.
Let's see if that works.
All right. Am I back?
You look good to me here.
Move, move.
Motion is happening.
All right.
Sweet. So, what were your overall thoughts of Black Christmas 1974 version?
Yeah.
And should I be watching the 2019 remake?
Okay, so starting with 1974,
Hmm.
I liked this movie a lot. I liked it more at the end. It was a very, very slow build to kind of the real scare because you had these very like intermittent scary parts. I thought, kind of when you see the killer. I thought it was very clever that you only see like the killer's hands or you saw like the
Sure.
killer's eye peeking out. It was very
That's creepy.
effective and scary. Yeah. Um, kind of really enjoyed that aspect. But you had these like intermittent murders, but then like very normal everyday activity sort of happening in between that broke the tension of those murders. So I really liked that because it's very simple. It's effective when you're just like waiting and waiting and waiting for this thing to like build up. And then I thought the last like kind of 20 minutes of the movie really were the payoff of, oh my gosh, we realize the killer's inside the house. Like, our
Hmm.
main girl is in there with a bunch of other people. How's she going to get out? Like, the police can't reach her. So I thought it all led up to like this really solid conclusion of the movie. So I really liked it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it as well. It was kind of strange to me the way they finished the film, but it
Yes.
is sort of that classic. I mean, brought to in the fullest way, the
Mhm.
killer is still on the loose, or it.
Yes.
So, but we can kind of imagine how it goes, I guess, or
Mhm.
it's up to you to decide. But I
Right.
thought it was an interesting choice, anyways.
Right. I agree.
I liked the cast
Mhm.
generally. I thought the killer was like you say, convincingly creepy.
Mhm.
The phone calls were well done.
Yes.
I'd be scared. It's like that's not good.
Yeah.
Um, and I love that Lois Lane is in it.
Yes. Margot
And
Kidder. Uh-huh.
yep, your '70s like nerdy doppelganger is in
I
there.
know. I saw her.
uh,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
funny.
Um yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. I like you said, I liked the cast. I liked um this kind of group of women in a sorority house. They were very like clearly progressive for the 70s.
Mhm.
Kind of very free and open and drinking, talking about having sex, and the film didn't kind of shy away from them being a little bit more open,
Sure.
promiscuous. I kind of didn't couldn't tell if they were taking like a supportive stand or like a critical stand on that, but I didn't think it needed to be like too overt. Whereas like the 2019 version does take a very like sort of almost like pseudo political,
Mm,
cultural stance on like the concept of
sure.
femininity. So, but I just thought it was interesting that they sort of bring it up um as like kind of like a side happening to this movie is like these women are very progressive for their time, and that's sort of like a tangential issue that's running through the movie.
I just like a story that is like honest or truthful. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to necessarily take it. Like there is definitely some heavier issues in this, like they talk about abortion and stuff. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a stance on it. Just like
Right.
this
Just that
is
it's
stuff that happens. These are
right.
conversations that exist, these are like,
Right.
and so yeah, it's just and I think that just adds validity to the film, if you're
I
just gonna
agree.
have something be honest,
Yeah, I agree.
without
It's
shoving
more
something in your face.
right. It's more like that this is just like an issue that is present,
Yeah.
and they have to grapple with it, rather than like let's take a stance or an angle on it. So,
Yep.
but it did sort of shock me just like the amount of like profanity and like talking about, like when they're at the police station, kind of first reporting these very creepy phone calls that get very real when
Hmm.
the killer's like shouting like nasty words through the phone. They're at the police station talking about fellatio,
Hmm.
just talking about it. I was like, wow, I just wasn't, kind of quite expecting that tone from this movie. So it was kind of a
Sure.
very, very funny break from the tension.
They're crazy college sorority girls,
Yeah,
like
clearly.
it's the way it goes.
Hmm.
And speaking of which, in that encounter with Officer Nash, what a
Yes.
bozo there.
Yes.
He was the butt
The
of a few
incompetent
jokes. And,
Officer Nash.
mm, not very good. Not very good at his job.
No.
I loved a lot of things about this. I see we both noted like how can you not use an inhaler? Like you don't understand how that
Yeah.
works
Like
when you have
nobody
one.
knew how to like use an inhaler. It was like upside down and like not really in her mouth. They weren't like pushing the medication, and
It was weird. Yep.
it's bad. It just like took me right out of the movie for something that, for a movie that did so many other things so realistically, like I'm not sure how they missed how to use an
Yep.
inhaler.
The stuff I loved about this film the most, I think, was just that it was in the 70s and the
Yeah.
reality of having this film take place in the 70s. And I know that's a lot of things, but I love them coming in to physically wiretap the phones and
Yes.
then
That
I
was one of my
trying to
favorite
literally
parts.
run and trace the number. Like it was a good
Yes.
suspense moment. Can I get there in time? You're not keeping him on the phone long enough. You
Yes.
know, that stuff that was very enjoyable, and
I
it
agree.
was enough to do away with the like moments where someone just keeps repeating like who is it, who is it,
Yeah.
who's there, who is it, who is it, as you keep like getting closer to the closet and then he gets
Right.
strangled. It's like what, so there's a few moments where it's like that's all you
Yeah.
have to say, like maybe I don't know,
Couldn't
but
think of anything else.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe if I'm actually expecting that someone's there, I don't go there, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
but otherwise,
I agree. I thought some of the police work, when we were dealing with our more competent detective and his partner, wiretapping the phones, and like you said, tracing the line was much more interesting. Um, and like it's something I never had known how that worked, like putting
yeah,
like a literal tap on a phone or tracing the telephone lines. It just like had never really occurred to me that that's how they used to have to go about it. So that was pretty
yeah,
cool. I do also think like the actual medium of a telephone call and them realizing, at the end that it's coming inside from inside the house, like
hmm,
it's the literal same phone line, was
yep,
very cool. It was very effective. Whereas like the 2019 version, you have text messages because of course
mm,
it's
yep,
2019, nobody answers their phone, you know, we all just get
yeah,
like DMs or text messages or whatever. So it just doesn't have quite the same feel of like listening to someone, you know, as in this movie they like freak out over the phone and just start, yelling all this like crazy nonsense
yep,
at them or like repeating their conversations. What that was freaky to me, like on the phone, like this guy's obviously in the house and been listening to them, but they can't figure that out. So they're like, how does this person know what I've been saying? So
yep.
yeah, that was just far more effective to me.
Well, you should tell me now then. Should we be putting a bullet in the this 2019 remake and potentially the other remake to go back and forth, or is this movie not worth watching? Or you let me know.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I see your notes here, but I haven't read them.
Yes.
Um, should I be watching this? Is it worthy?
Ah, it's, I mean, okay, so here's what I would say about it. I would say no, do not go out of your way to watch it. It's cool if it's like happens to be on and you want to watch it, because you do kind of compare like new to old. It is kind of fun to like be like,
Right.
oh, that's the analog for that, or oh, that's what they're doing with that here. Also, spoiler alert: Carrie Elwes makes a guest cameo in this movie, and I love that man. He could just cameo in anything. Um, but on the whole, yikes. Yikes.
Really?
I see where it got the poor reviews, because so much of the original story they didn't translate well, and they kind of transformed the killer in a way that's very dumb. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like there's the same notion of this like slow buildup, where you have these moments of like, oh my gosh, somebody's getting murdered or somebody's getting attacked, and then just this total flip back to like regular everyday life. And so you're kind of waiting again for those, that big showdown at the end, but
Hmm.
it does not pay off. It's very it gets a little more supernatural rather than horror, without giving too much away. It's there's like kind of this like supernatural magical element that happens that I just don't think is necessary. I don't think it's very effective. It's too pointed, and it's just far more effective to have this like crazy insane killer that you have in the
Sure.
in the 70s version. Because I mean, I didn't even understand some of the motives for the 1974 killer.
Right.
um he
Yep.
didn't make a
This
whole
part
lot of
was
sense to
scary.
me, but yeah, that's very effective. I mean, he kept repeating throughout the movie, the names Agnes and Billy. I didn't figure out until the end that his name was Billy. I still have no idea
Mm.
what those characters actually have to do with anything or what they mean, but he clearly had some sort of like trauma that happened and just like broke him, and that's why he kept collecting these girls up in the attic and stuff like that. um but yeah, that was all very effective, just because it was so random. It was so almost meaningless as to why he chose this house and chose these girls to terrorize. Whereas the 2019, it's too planned and too perfect.
What is so creepy frat army using some sort of black magic?
Yep.
What? That's a
Yep.
departure.
Yep, it is. Yeah, yeah, I mean, that tells you kind of like all you need to know. It is. It's a literally sorority versus fraternity like showdown in the 2019 version.
Oh my goodness.
And it's
Um,
overblown, it's overproduced, it's very like almost actiony. It doesn't even become a horror movie at that point, and it just doesn't feel scary anymore,
huh.
because you have this sort of like battle royale. So, yeah, just
But
underwhelming. Underwhelming.
so, but then the other house is all bad? Like,
The fraternity, yes.
yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
I mean, like I said,
What?
I would like throw it on sometime, or if it, you just happen to catch it and like watch some of it, cuz there's
Hmm.
some moments that are entertaining. They have some cool imagery, um some smartly produced moments, and I think the end will actually make you laugh instead of be afraid. But I mean, I wouldn't deliberately go out of anyone's way to watch it.
Huh. Okay. Um, okay, so you're saying I'm just very interested in your comments now in here and stuff. So the men create an army to battle the out of
Yeah.
line. So the women they're doing something wrong in their mind.
Yes,
They're
yes. They're not like good little 1950s, suburban housewives who make
Mhm,
your sandwich and are waiting for you when you come home from work, and they have ideas about, well, they just have ideas, which how dare you?
mhm,
And um so part of this is that Carrie Elwes, I guess I'm just going to spoil
mhm.
the whole thing, because you really just really shouldn't watch it. Carrie Elwes is a professor on this college campus. There's a petition going around against him to get him fired. He also happens to be the head of this like fraternity house,
Okay.
and wants to get revenge on this like group of sorority sisters because they're trying to get him fired. They tried to change his classroom because he's teaching the classics and they want more content from women. He's a literature professor and they want, more content being taught from female authors. So he's really upset about that. And then also one of the fraternity brothers attacked and nearly raped one of the sorority sisters. So they lobbied a charge against that fraternity brother, who ended up getting off, because they said there wasn't enough evidence to prove what he did. So like this, I mean, they're really set up to like pit against each other from the beginning, and then Carrie Elwes discovers in like the bust of the college's founder like some deep source of like black magic that allows him to turn this whole fraternity into like an army of dude bros who would like to see things return to the way they were, where you could just like do whatever you wanted with women and they didn't have opinions. They weren't trying to get you fired. And so, yeah.
Nice.
So they, like, one by one attack all the women of this sorority. So that's another departure. It's like multiple killers keep showing up. Because I thought, there was one killer. I saw him. I mean, I didn't see him. He was kind of like masked and stuff like that. But you saw him and you saw him get taken down sort of 3/4 of the way through the movie. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. And then another guy showed up and then another guy showed up. And I was like, okay.
Okay. So yeah, it definitely sounds less scary.
It is. It starts out as a scary movie and sort of morphs into an action movie, and it just doesn't work out at all.
Huh.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it's a concept that could have been interesting if it was more like centered on Carrie Elwes instead of him, like I said, making this like army of frat bros.
Right.
But because this happens, it just sort of stretches the believability so far. And like I said, this ending scene like sets up all these sorority sisters to like literally come in and fight fraternity brothers, and it's just like this weird thing.
That's weird.
So
they could have made it more of a cult, like if they wanted to do this sort of thing where they had some sort of like long cult following, sort of that.
It sort of tries to tap into that, and it doesn't work very well. I mean, like, I think maybe it could have been done better, but it doesn't work out because this whole like weird black magic-y thing is just so like wildly unbelievable. Like that Carrie Elwes is like, the founder knew this would happen one day, so he like hid a source of black magic within himself. And I'm like, what? Like, this guy just like knew sometime in the future women were just apparently going to be people with ideas, and so decided to like go out and find some black magic and hide it away for when people need it, so that we can return to, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. He's playing a long game, but
yeah. It's like Harry Potter. I mean, this is just a different wizarding school now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
this house is gonna get kicked out,
Yep.
And they're gonna okay.
It takes just such a sharp turn that I just was really disappointed in the movie.
Well, are you enticed to watch the other remake?
I am, because I want to see if it's anything like the 1974 version, or if it's anything like the 2019. We're just gonna like wildly veer in this very opposite direction. Yeah. So I'd be intrigued to watch the 2006 version just to see. It's got Michelle Trachtenberg in it.
Who's that?
Oh boy, Harriet the Spy. She's Buffy's little sister on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She's in Gossip Girl. God, what other movies has she been in?
Yep, I've seen her.
Eurotrip, I think. Right? Like one of those.
I don't. No, I guess I've seen that. I think maybe. Yeah.
It's one of those like 2000s like road trippy, stupid teenage comedy things. Eurotrip, yes. Thank you, Alan.
Oh yeah. So Harry and the Spy, Ice Princess, 17 again, Buffy the Vampire
Oh,
Slayer, and
right.
Euro Trip was like notable
Yep.
ones here. It seems like.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, she's noted for being the most hated character in the entire Buffy universe.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Her
Wow.
storyline makes zero sense with the way they just like slam her in there. Like suddenly she's
Aw.
Buffy's little sister who just like shows up out of the blue. It's it's the worst. It is the worst. It's like
I've got to
painful.
watch that sometime
You do.
because I know how passionate you are about that, and
That's
I
right.
know there's a big following. I have trouble going back to network television things, but knowing the time period it's made in, and knowing the impact it's had,
It is some
um,
solid Joss Whedon work. Like for a while. It does towards the end you do get a little like, yeah, we're stretching some things here, but I would really say seasons 1 through 5 are very solid.
but what was that movie we just saw where they just slammed Whedon in the middle
Oh,
of it,
I
right?
know. Oh, I know. Oh, that was so good. Oh,
Uh, because I honestly am not a big Joss Whedon fan anymore. Like it seemed like he was gonna have, he's
yeah.
got
He
stuff going for him, and then I don't know. It's
yeah,
sort of
this is I think this is early in his work where we're still seeing like some of the promise of Joss Whedon. You know,
Mhm.
he did have like some really good years and some really good Buffy years. Um and then yeah, he does get a little tired and played out. God,
Hmm.
I can't think of what we had watched that was so
Yeah,
funny that they just like we both noted it that they slammed Whedon in
yeah,
it.
yeah. I see. So yeah, he had. I guess before he got really big, it
Mhm.
was Firefly,
Yep.
Angel, Buffy,
Yep.
Doctor Horrible,
Oh, I
and
love
to
Dr.
me,
Horrible.
honestly, then it started going down. I mean, he had Avengers, I think everybody then thought this is going to be the guy.
Right.
But then it's like Age of Ultron, oh, that wasn't as good. And then screenplay for Justice League, oh, it's
Oof.
not as good.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Yeah, he's on a little bit of a downward slide. Maybe he can pick himself up, but yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I
look
would
at Shyamalan. Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah. But I would highly recommend Buffy, of course. I have sat Chris down and started making him watch it because it is so important to me. But yeah, like I said, I would be interested to kind of rewind the clock, go back and watch the 2006 version of Black Christmas just to see what's in there.
All right. Well, there you have it, everyone. That's our Halloween episode. I suppose we should have dressed up, huh? Should have had like
I know.
stuff on.
I
But
know. I didn't think
I
about
was
it.
Nathan Drake yesterday, but that's a pretty plain costume, so it's
Solid.
not real fancy. I could have just put on a
Solid.
wig or something. So
What did Ashley do?
she was a Grey Warden from Dragon
Oh,
Age,
sure.
so she has improved her outfit
Yeah.
since. So she had like more plate metal armor for it to go
Very
on.
cool.
So yep, yep, very good.
Nice. Yeah, I did. I mean, I've seen that costume before, but I would love to see it now, like you
Well,
said,
now,
with the new improvements, because I did think it was
yep,
pretty good back then too. So, yeah.
yep. So. Well, I don't know. We got Thanksgiving is next. So Thanksgiving movies.
Oh boy.
About turkeys and stuff.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is I was watching yesterday. They had a whole Simpsons Treehouse of Horror marathon going on, and for some of them, like I think 3 of them, they decided to be like, "Oh, we never do anything about Thanksgiving." So they made Thanksgiving themed Halloween Treehouse of Horror episodes, which was
Ah,
actually kind of funny. So I was just
nice.
like, "Oh, okay. I guess, yeah, nobody really makes a movie about Thanksgiving. Nobody really,
Yeah.
does a whole bunch about it." So,
Nope. Nope. All right.
all
Well,
right.
everybody should follow us on the social media networks. go to YouTube, like that, subscribe,
Mm-hmm.
watch all our content there. Check out our website. Our theme is brought to you by Killing the Flower, and you should check out their content on
Mm-hmm.
Instagram and YouTube and Spotify. And yeah, we're getting close to returning back to normal. We'll probably be watching another show weekly coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, otherwise, feel free to yell at us in the comments. Tell us what we should watch. I'm excited for you to watch The Exorcist, see what you think of
Yes.
that.
Yes,
I,
I'm
I should
super
do the
pumped.
same. So, yeah. Otherwise, this has been Popcast on the Rocks, episode 36. I'm John, and thanks for joining me, Andrea.
Of course. Cheers, everyone.